But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. That's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets.
Just this morning I was talking with these two older women. They were really just lovely older women who were speaking with a lot of nuance on a number of topics. And then when Trump came up, it was like, I don't understand how people can vote for that criminal. It was just like this, it became a black and white issue where nothing else had been. And so
Really?
I just find it so interesting how this topic and how people are kind of making monsters out of this. Also, I saw, on the other hand, just on Twitter a little bit ago, Riley Gaines tweeted that Melania Trump is the definition of class. And she's complimenting her for a really great statement that she put out, which is classy. I mean, I guess you could say it's a classy statement. It's a good statement. It was well said. But it's interesting, this idealization and the devaluation. Like, it's either the ultimate good or the ultimate bad, and we keep seeing that kind of language so much in the political sphere.
No, you're right. I mean, everything's ramped up because people need to be incentivized to vote. So if you say you can never vote again, this is the end of democracy or the end of life as we know it in one way or another. And the Republicans have been using that rhetoric too. Like, this is the one that's going to decide the future of America. And I don't think any given one president changes that much, but 50, 60 years of presidents do. But we're given this false dichotomy that's then reified into this ultimate extreme. And then you have political violence like we saw yesterday. So I'm sorry, it appears that our microphone had been muted for the first 2 minutes. Very sorry about that. So what we were saying is that we wanted to do
did you get the battle box?
I think they heard the battle box. So let's play that again. This is from Biden's statement just today, just really recently. We'll just play it again because it's a beautiful statement. Sorry if the audio's overlapped. Wait, are you going to play it?
But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. That's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets.
He said battle box twice.
We resolve our differences at the battle box. That's how we...
Stop. Battle box.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's got a stutter. But you talked about Melania. She's the Kamala of my, my female. I just have a problem with female.
The name?
Yeah. Barbara Bush,
Barbara.
Yeah. But, after that debate, or like right on the eve or right after the debate, which was so horrible, and we haven't spoken about that. That's been the last 2 weeks. A lot of stuff has happened where Biden apparently, everybody just suddenly realized how incompetent he was, just suddenly out of nowhere. But his wife ends up on the cover of Vogue magazine talking about how awesome it is that she's whisked around and just reveling in the power and luxury of her position. And I don't know, is that classy? Is it not classy? These people are the elites, but they want to have their cake and have us eat cake too, seems like.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't see that Vogue.
No. Yeah.
No.
So anyway, Trump got shot at. There's photos of him dodging a bullet. Probably the most iconic moment in political history in my lifetime. He stands right back up and he tells the Secret Service who's trying to whisk him away. Somebody says the simultaneously most gayest and straightest president that we've ever had, because he's like, my shoes. He's looking for his shoes, he doesn't want to leave his shoes behind for some reason. And he's like, wait. And then he raises his hand and he goes, fight. And it's just like, it filled me with this very powerful thrill.
I wondered about why would he choose the word fight in that moment? Why would that be what he would encourage people to do?
Well, there's no audio, so I was guessing, and a lot of other people are saying he said fight. He's like, I think he was signaling, I'm okay, we're still in it. It's just like this powerful welling of like this Caesarean sectioning of history right in that moment.
Yeah, I guess so.
For me.
Interesting.
Was that evocative to you?
I just watched this AOC rally.
Oh yeah, when she's
ago,
like,
and she's yelling fight, and it's interesting again. It's just this political fervor. This
so you have, that's not cynicism,
the battle
but
box.
you're kind of skeptical of.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I wonder what'll happen. I think it'll probably produce a lot more sympathy towards Trump. People will admire how he handled that and feel sympathetic towards him for seeing him as the target of something like that. I think that it may have won him the election.
Yeah. It's really, and now we get to contend with several decades of conspiracy theories because the FBI is on the case, and we know we're not going to see transparency. Apparently, a 20-year-old kid, they noped him out of existence right then and there. No manifesto, no social media.
And it's not even clear that they've got the right guy identified at this point, is it?
No, they've identified the guy. Turns out he was in a BlackRock video from last year, I think it was, where he was being a student. Apparently news has come up where he was extremely bullied and very much a shut-in, was still wearing a mask. There's another video floating around of him screaming at Republicans on a campus. They have a Republican booth. But he registered Republican and donated to this thing called Act Blue, which is a progressive/democratic fundraising operation. So, and then a lot of people were.
But he registered Republican?
There was a push, a very public push for Democrats to register as Republicans in order to get Trump off and Nikki Haley on the ballot.
That makes
so
sense.
it's like all these political heebie-jeebies are going on. And we don't know, and then the counter snipers, it looked like they had them in the sights, but there was another analysis that said they were probably looking much further away, and where the shooter was kind of in this middle range that was supposed to be taken care of by local law enforcement. So there's comms issues and stuff. It's a total mess, and it's been 24 hours now since it happened. But we know we don't trust our institutions right now. We know that even if they are not being conspiratorial, which it seems like they kind of have been against Trump, they are incompetent, which is kind of even scarier in some ways. They can't actually do what they're there to do, which is, this is kind of existential for our country. In a way, the rhetoric does turn it up, but in a way it does, what gels us together as a country is some sort of common belief in our country as such. Is it not? I believe in America. I pledge my allegiance to America. I'm an American. That's kind of the glue that kind of gets us all going in the same direction and facilitates a certain amount of harmony. How much harmony?
And how much of that is injured by, based on how much of that involves the skepticism of government.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of the American identity
Oh,
is
yeah.
impacted by that or formed by that.
Yeah.
Skepticism.
Yeah, we
of
forget
government.
that.
Yeah.
We forget that.
Yeah.
We have a healthy dose of wariness towards authority.
I just read this book that you saw me reading it for the last
Yeah, it's
couple
called
of weeks.
Chaos.
Chaos, yeah.
Who's
Chaos.
it by? It's right there. You want
It's
me to
Tom
grab it?
O'Neill.
Tom O'Neill.
I can grab it.
Yeah.
It's
about the 60s and Charles Manson and the CIA and
yeah. Here you
it's
go.
a lot of hijinks. So can't show my her drawing of me, but we can show her book.
Yeah, I don't want to show.
You really-
You're gonna
you-
show my drawings. You better show a good one. That was a terrible.
You
drawing.
ate it all up. Does it got anything about Kaczynski?
No,
Okay.
no Kaczynski. That would be interesting though.
Yeah.
He does go into Kennedy a little bit, the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just one of the things he talks about is MK Ultra, and he really does his research, goes in and spends a lot of time digging into these programs where our government intentionally manipulated. They did this thing. They had this like counter. They were trying to take any legitimacy away from progressive movements. So they were trying to take the legitimacy away from the Black Panthers movement.
Yeah.
And they were intentionally planting people in to start skirmishes and conflicts between groups that already had
Yeah.
some animosity between
Yeah.
them. But-
Occupy Wall Street
Yeah, yeah.
1.0.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. But they would kill people, and they would, have their. They did really dirty things, and you can read all about this. There were
Yeah.
commissions that looked into this. Our government investigating itself, pulling this stuff up. It's not conspiracy theory. It's
Yeah.
just history.
Yeah. Well,
And-
didn't the CIA invent the term conspiracy theory in order to debunk
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
people pulling lines
Yeah,
together?
yeah.
I interviewed. Did I post it? Courtney Turner. Yeah, I think I posted the second one. She's really deep in the conspiracy, all these different webs and connections and stuff. And I would like to have her and Jason Bradley hash it out because Bradley's much more
Oh, yeah.
organized in how he sees all these connections.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very, very skeptical of people just like looking for connections for the sake of looking for connections. And you can get into these kind of conspiratorial ways of building a narrative that isn't necessarily there. It's just like there's enough data to support some sort of conclusion that you're kind of projecting into the simulation, as you've been talking about today.
I'm not the simulation person. That's
No.
not me.
You've been toying with that idea.
Not the simulation. No.
The imagination, the dream. Who is this?
Oh, I was
Levy?
I was listening to this guy Paul Levy, who's written a number of books. I have one of his books. A friend of mine recommended it to me, called Dispelling Wetiko. Wetiko being the mind virus, being this sort of
Mass formation psychosis.
yeah, kind
thing.
of, or just this like evil, if you want to go there, like the dark, the shadow, the part of ourselves that is that tends to delight in the negative, or the or can become obsessed with.
The
So it's
salty
something that
stick,
runs through all
yeah.
of us. I guess it would be kind of the salty stick.
Yeah, you want to lick
And
the
so I've been listening to some of his stuff, and he's an interesting person. Talks
Yeah.
about waking to the dream, the idea that we're all in some kind of a shared, we're all co-creating the reality that we're in, and
Yeah.
that a lot of what we experience when we have, for instance, I guess one thing that I would be interested in his perspective on would be something like that experience this morning, talking with these people who have a lot of, just can have a lot of discussion, even have disagreements about things, and it's very congenial and nuanced. And then the minute Trump came up, you watch, they both were like, oh, no. And I just knew, like, I'm going to stay out of this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about this.
You
because-
literally saw their faces turn gray and like the chip go in. Trump,
Yeah.
orange man bad, orange man bad.
Pretty much. And I thought the intensity of their investment in the emotional opinion that they have about him
Yeah.
is such that if I am to try to talk about this in any way, and I wouldn't be saying, but I love Trump, because I don't. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But I would just maybe speak to some of the black and white thinking that they're raising. Like, how could anybody vote for this guy? How could anybody vote? I worry about our country because how can anybody vote for this convicted criminal?
Well, I mean, but if it's a total landslide, what's the amount? How deep they are into that way of thinking? I don't think they'll see this just completely red map.
It'll be terrifying.
It'll be terrifying to them. They'll think like, oh no, it's the end of the world, and it's like, wow, they've really been.
It's so interesting.
Boxed into that way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. It really is interesting, but it makes you. That's where you would start if we're looking at it from this with Tico sort of perspective. You would say that it's a projection that he is representing something for them. It's almost Jungian, like he's representing something for them that they sort of project outwards and give him that significance of something that's inside of themselves. It's like their own shadow that they're projecting onto him and now he starts to take on this significance of the evil. Not doing it justice.
Well, no, yeah.
He's got a book on George W. Bush that I haven't read, but I heard him talking about. It was really interesting.
You'll have to have him on.
I don't know.
Best part of being a podcaster, you just...
but maybe you could.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I should. So, you know what? I think this is I think it does slide in. Mass formation psychosis, government bureaucracy gone amok, people just going politically apeshit. Sorry, that's a technical term. And Evergreen really does show that. So we have 4 more episodes. We'll just do 2 today, or we'll do 1. Okay. It's about a half hour. And then we can discuss with the people in chat. Thanks for swinging by. Chrissy Meow Mom, always one of my top supporters. Oh my God, I love Jason Bradley. Add Courtney Turner. Do it. I'm going to text him about this. Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
You should text him.
That's good.
And then she gave us another super chat. In Oregon, Antifa? I think it's Antifa. Supported registering as Republican to vote against Trump in the primary. Nice neck towel. Yeah, it's filled with ice.
Yes, it is an ice neck towel. It is hot. It is. It's not Texas hot, but it's not that far off, and we have no AC.
We don't have no AC, and I'm going to have to plug this thing in at some point. So let's get on with the Evergreen. ABC. This begins with a student contacted me in 2019, and he wanted to have his voice covered and anonymized, so it's got stupid vocoder stuff going on.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go find the charging cable while we start with
There is a certain population among the faculty that actively supports and even promotes the far left narrative. A narrative of the oppressor and victim. Whiteness is the enemy, be an ally to underrepresented groups or oppressed groups, because if you're not, you're just as bad as the white oppressors. That sort of mindset is fostered and was fostered by certain faculty. And I think that's what contributed to part of the protests, is that these young malleable minds that are going to Evergreen, these are like 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who are being indoctrinated by certain faculty.
The 90s was really boring. The last Clinton administration, there wasn't much activism going on, and that really changed dramatically in 99 with the WTO protests right in this area in Seattle.
Protesters had been tear-gassed all morning. Finally, there was a lull in the activity when all of a sudden a group we had seen all morning, a group we now know as anarchists called the Black Bloc, began terrorizing the city. I was live on the phone as it started.
Trying to break the windows. They're slamming against the windows. Oh my gosh, they just broke the Starbucks window. They're breaking into it right now.
And that kind of grew into Occupy, which in a sense grew into the Sanders campaign, which had a lot of success. We've had Black Lives Matter, which has sustained itself beyond any of these movements and really even beyond the civil rights movement. And when we look at the rise of the right, it's because they're afraid. And they're afraid of something positive that is happening. We see these backlashes as, as kind of proof that these are powerful movements. So you should get involved at this time, because this is a phenomenal time in history. We haven't seen anything like this in a long time.
The Occupy movement of 2011 called for uniting the 99% against the 1%. and pointed to capitalism as the source of unemployment, poverty, declining quality of life, and the obscene inequality of income and wealth going to a few at the expense of the many. The popularity of the movement has energized many people. So has the Sanders campaign and the Black Lives Matter movement, the climate justice movement, and the inspiring Native-led movement against the Dakota Access Pipeline has created a surge in activism, an increasing interest in going beyond reform and capitalism to what is necessary, a multicultural, feminist, participatory socialist society.
This I believe. I believe Evergreen can create a more vibrant community of anti-racist activists on our staff and faculty and among our students, if we break our 45-year pattern of occasionally turning toward these issues briefly with deep but short-run commitment that fades, and fades. Our words of action disappearing into the background as we return to business as usual. Breaking this cycle will take sustained and stubborn leadership from our administration and at least a doubling of our staff and faculty of color. This I do believe.
Several people, in fact many people, have now started to refer to what's going on in the staff-faculty zone here as a cult. And I think, on the one hand, that could be tongue-in-cheek. On the other hand, the mechanisms at work that have people doubling down on absurdities rather than trying to get on the right side of history as quickly as possible, it is very cult-like. And again, you asked me what would have to happen for us to right the ship. The second one is that my faculty colleagues have to wake up to the fact that their belief structure has become bizarre and unrecognizable from any normal position.
Now, I would like you to take all of the footage that we just ingested over the course of those last 20 episodes and hold that in your mind, and then listen to this, which is a faculty letter, or an open letter that was signed by 92 staff and faculty of the Evergreen State College and published on June 2nd, 2017. As Evergreen faculty members, we acknowledge that all of us who have power within the institution share responsibility for the racist actions of others. Furthermore, those of us who are white bear a particularly large share of that responsibility. We acknowledge that we have a great deal of work to do in order to honor and live up to the demands made by student leaders during the last week's protests. Note that those so-called student leaders were self-assigned, not elected by any sort of democratic process. We acknowledge that students of color and others who are underrepresented and underserved have been voicing their demands to us for some time, and we have not yet truly listened and acted. We acknowledge the students' right to protest and affirm President Bridges' recent decision not to use the misguided language in the current Student Code of Conduct to punish the protesters. We vehemently reject the claim that students have been violent simply because they have been loud and emphatic. There is a difference between exercising the right to freely voice an opinion and inciting violence. I suppose that baseball bats don't count. And that difference has nothing to do with volume or forcefulness. We support the demands made by students and honor the positive institutional change that they have already achieved through their protests. And then there's a list of demands. In solidarity with students, we commit ourselves to participating actively and self-critically in the annual mandatory trainings specified in the Memorandum of Understanding recently signed by the UFE and management bargaining teams, holding each other accountable when we act in racist ways against our colleagues and our students, according to shared language and understanding developed in the trainings, holding President Bridges accountable to the promises he made at the All-Campus Forum on May 26, 2017, and to the process of ongoing dialogue with student leaders, actively supporting the strategic plan put forward by the Equity and Inclusion Council, including providing substantive support to the Vice President and Vice Provost of Equity and Inclusion, tasked with implementing and extending their work. In solidarity with students, we call for the Evergreen administration to center student perspectives in a persistent media approach to counter the alt-right narratives that are demonizing Evergreen and Day of Absence specifically. They want to do basically a propaganda campaign with certain students. They're pro-protester. The protest is a very small sampling of the Evergreen State College students. What about the other students? To continue, take seriously the threats made to individual community members and use all available institutional resources to protect them. Demonstrate accountability by pursuing a disciplinary investigation against Brett Weinstein according to guidelines in the Social Contract and Faculty Handbook. Weinstein has endangered faculty, staff, and students, making them targets of white supremacist backlash by promulgating misinformation in public emails, on national television, in news outlets, and on social media. This is a point of personal privilege here. They want to change the student code of conduct to protect the protesters and then use another code of conduct to prosecute Brett Weinstein for taking the story out of the bounds of what they can control. To wrap up, we are angry and frustrated and concerned. We also believe, however, that if the college can muster a meaningful collective response to recent events, this can be a powerful lever for growth in student numbers, success, and equity, and for future institutional change. We urge the administration not to lead with fear or a desire to suppress students' voices. We urge them to let the energy and clarity of those voices carry us forward. In solidarity, the undersigned faculty. During this period of time, the Evergreen State College administration decided to move graduation about an hour north to Tacoma. Then news arrived that Joey Gibson of Patriot Prayer was planning to visit the campus to have a free speech rally. This sent the administration and faculty into a tizzy because they had declared that Joey Gibson was an alt-right neo-Nazi.
Last week, we talked with a guy who, after we talked with him, a bulletin went out at Evergreen State saying local conservative talk show host Dory Monson interviewed Joey Gibson, and they sent it out warning people to be situationally aware after this interview. And Joey Gibson is back on with me. I don't know why that is, but they sent out a bulletin after you came on my show last week, Joey.
Absolutely. You know, we're going to go up there, and they're afraid because we're challenging them with different beliefs.
Yeah, that's about it.
This is the manner in which the Evergreen administration broke the news to itself that Joey Gibson and his Patriot Prayer were planning to visit. From Jamie Cooper, Associate Vice President for Student and Academic Support Services. Gorge and windy. Many students and staff are currently huddled in the Unity Lounge, fearing that a white nationalist group is planning to campus next week. Rashida says Felix came out with this revelation at the Equity Council meeting today. I'm not exactly sure the specific info on when this will happen, but it seems to be coming from Dory Monson. I'm listening to the podcast right now to try to identify when this is supposed to occur. Students are requesting that the college close, and at minimum we want to close student access services. I appreciate any guidance on this and to be updated on this so I can keep students and staff updated. Students are also wanting to ensure that students who do not come to class next week due to feeling unsafe are not penalized, which they recognize is Ken's area. Signed, Jamie.
Patriot Prayer was widely accused across our distribution list of being alt-right, intolerant, white supremacist, right?
There was a far-right rally that was not by libertarian conservatives, but I've been doing a lot of documentation. I've been working on this kind of research for 30 years, and these were Nazis from Portland. That movement has been the ones behind these systematic racist death threats and hate mail that have affected students, staff, and faculty of color, and others.
It just made no sense the idea that these people, there were Trump supporters who spoke about being supportive of Trump in this rally.
Supporters of Pepe, too. You have to remember that.
There were supporters of Pepe, and there was a Kekistani flag.
There was a Kekistani flag.
However, it did not add up that these people were vehement racists of any kind, frankly. In fact, I saw people of different racial backgrounds. You could see that they were in the crowd. And then this article emerges, and it turns out Joey Gibson is half Japanese.
Yeah.
And his right-hand man is Samoan.
Yeah.
And he's not even particularly committed to Trump, right?
Yeah.
He's mildly committed to Trump because he doesn't have a better option.
Yeah.
And he is very committed to anti-violence and tolerance. Mm-hmm. So here's my point. You have faculty at Evergreen who are trying to portray me as the bringer of alt-right violence.
Yeah, you're the harbinger,
to Evergreen. Yeah. But when you look at that alt-right violence, it isn't alt-right. It isn't racist. In fact, it's more tolerant than our faculty currently are.
It's explicitly tolerant.
Leading up to Patriot Prayer coming up on campus, there's all these flyers and propaganda and people talking about there's this alt-right Nazi white supremacist group called Patriot Prayer that's going to come to campus. Before the event started, I decided to go and talk with Joey Gibson. When I met him, I was glad that he was willing to listen to an Evergreener's perspective. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that he wasn't going to be willing to. But the presence of all this propaganda, it leaves like a little bit in the back of your mind. Well, what am I really walking into? But I'm glad I did because he really was there to show that intolerance of any kind, no matter where it comes from on the political spectrum, is wrong. And he actively spoke out against, white supremacy and supremacy of all kinds.
I am here to stand against hate. That is the one thing that drives me crazy, and I talk about it all the time. But hatred, it always comes down to hatred. It always boils down to hatred. If we're going to stand against hate, though, we got to go in there, and we can't preach hate. We cannot be hateful. We have to be good people. We have to, everything that comes out of our mouth has to be with the motivation to preach love and to be good people. And hey, we have a student right here, and he wanted to make sure that I knew. He said, Joey, you got to understand that these kids don't represent the whole school. And he's right. I understand that. Okay? They don't. And that's what we have to understand. These social justice warriors, they don't represent the public, they don't represent our country, and they sure as hell don't represent this campus.
There's honestly a sincere and earnest desire to engage in true dialogue, true conversation with the other side. And he even tried to converse with some of the protesters, and that was met with violence.
I need milk. I just want to have a conversation. I come over here, I walk all the way over here, I talk to a couple of guys, all they do, they came and talk. One guy had a little bit of conversation, they called me a fascist, called me a racist, the same stuff here over and over and over again. Okay, when someone reached over and just pepper sprayed me. That's it, man, that's all they got. I'm asking that we have a conversation, we get better. All this hatred we don't need anymore. They act like they're against hate, there's no way. If they're against hate, then they would shake my hand and shake me like a man.
It was kind of split into two groups. Those who were at the fence were those with the masks, decked out in all black. The Antifa image comes to mind. And then behind them were, I would say, the older, middle-aged, holding the banners and stuff like that. So I really tried to engage with that segment, the back lines, and was met with a unwillingness to engage.
Well, this person's very nice and talking to me.
Pop up, and I just am interested in what's going on. That's all.
Right, I'm interested in what's going on and why these guys are.
There were people that were threatening to shoot people, and this thing made a lot of people feel like that was going to happen again.
So do you think? Do you go to school here?
I am a former student. I don't go there here right now.
Right. Oh God. So now they're. Jesus.
You're obviously making people very uncomfortable.
Oh right, I've heard this before.
Please get the fuck out.
Right.
Because Because if you're not here to help people be safe and help them feel safe, get the fuck out.
I'm here to see what's going on, but nobody's even...
If you're not here to help people feel safe, leave.
Exactly. I think by backing off, you could really demonstrate like goodwill to people by listening,
Dude,
paying attention.
These fuckers
to what
keep trying to grab my
is.
shit.
I understand. I know that must be frustrating for you, but I think there's a way that I see
Is this
for
fun
you
for
all
you?
to do
Are you having
things,
fun?
right? There's a way
You
for
having
this
fun?
to go all right.
Yeah.
And what needs,
You're having fun.
it's not really fun for people.
Hey,
This is fun for you.
so what's going on? Are you a part
We're
of
here to
a...
help people feel safe.
Right, and what does that mean?
You're not making us feel safe.
You're not making me feel safe.
Right.
Well, then leave.
You're not here to help people on campus feel safe. You're here to start some sort of weird discussion.
I don't think
so that you can
that's not
better
weird discussion.
understand it
Yeah, I
for
do
your
want to
own
better understand
little
it.
white brain. It's
My
like
white brain?
Racist. Yes.
Whoa.
Don't be racist.
Holy
no, man,
crap.
I'm not. I am an
Holy-
ally.
No.
I live a different experience. I am here because my black friends, my black friends are too scared to be here.
You just said a racist slur against me.
It doesn't make anything change.
I am here
Right, my white brain? What does that mean?
Let her explain it.
Explain it. What is my white brain? When you said your white brain.
Our eyes are totally different from people of color and black people. They live a different experience from us. We are privileged as fuck, man. We live a life of luxury.
I circled around and tried to talk to some of the protesters and really ask, what are you opposing? Like, what do you think about this group? And all of what I heard didn't go beyond the surface. It was all just in line with what the propaganda was saying and telling them. These are alt-right trolls and white supremacists. There was a lot of energy around that surface narrative. There was no desire to go deeper in thought. There was no desire to really think critically about reality, about the truth behind both sides of this issue. I actually saw Peter Bomer on the protesters' side, and I didn't know he was a professor at that time. I just thought he was old dude. He was with the protesters and showed up to support that side of the protest. So I had no idea that this was a faculty. And so I went up and I talked to him and I asked why he was like on that side of the protest and like what his thoughts were, and really tried to probe deeper into really what is the reasoning behind this protest. He really questioned my questioning of why he was on that side of the protest. He wasn't wanting to engage in a dialogue. And in fact, how do I put this? He told me that because I wasn't supporting the protest and that I was questioning it, that I was wrong and that I was a detriment to the cause.
The cause.
I don't know if he said the cause, but that was the root of what his message.
What is the cause, though? I mean, screaming and yelling?
I don't know.
He's a faculty. Zoltan's a faculty. They all came out very strong with the narrative of the alt-right Nazis are coming to campus. The only act of violence happened from the protester side, or the pro-Evergreen side, or whatever that other side was. And there was one man who had a knife that the Patriot Prayer people took down and then handed them to the police.
Easy, no violence, easy.
Which completely demolishes the Bomer Zoltan narrative of like, look at all these violent alt-right people, you know, and then they flush that narrative out there, inspiring all these violent far-left people to come pre-justified to be violent, pre-justified to be aggressive, pre-justified to assault you.
In retrospect, I shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. It was very naive of me. I can't remember if it was before the Patriot Prayer rally or if it was after, but I came out to Red Square and tried to invite dialogue with a few posters that I had. I don't remember exactly what was written on them. One of them was like, all perspectives are valuable. Let's talk about it, or something along those lines, right? Something that was inviting or trying to be inviting. I was actually met with some people who actually did engage with me, and I had very good conversations with them. We talked about what was going on at campus and what their thoughts were, and I was very happy about that some students actually wanted to engage and did engage me. But there was a negative response by a few individuals who I can safely say are part of the far left student population.
It's really disrespectful.
I'm trying to have a peaceful dialogue.
Hey, man, why'd you rip up that gentleman's signs? Why'd you do that? Whoa.
Hey, stop. De-escalate.
Please, ma'am. That's not right. Just let her do that?
Oh, no. And I didn't mean for that to happen. And please continue the dialogue. I just want to invite you guys this tomorrow because we're having too much stress on this campus.
Which didn't really bother me because it's just a piece of paper, but the fact that a student can't handle seeing a piece of paper with something written on it is troubling to me. I understand what the protesters did was wrong, and how they acted was completely wrong, and it was terrible. And I'm not trying to excuse it. However, these are young kids who are trying to find their voice, and many of them are just trying to fight for a cause, any cause, to give them a sense of community and a purpose. But they did it in the wrong way. That doesn't mean we should excuse their actions, but really put it into perspective that Evergreen as a whole and these student protesters as a whole aren't necessarily bad people. They just did some really shitty things and acted in a shitty way. And that the response shouldn't be to push them away necessarily, but to try to show some understanding and teach them a better way to act as an adult.
Listen to people, try to respect what they're saying. Don't feel morally superior. I think it's death. You're never going to reach people you feel like you're better than them. Listen, find points of agreement, think why people believe in what they do, and then try to challenge it in a respectful way. And I think people do change.
Racism is bad for white people. Ultimately, in terms of really improving their lot in life. And I think the way to talk to white working class people is to find something that really concerns them, and how, in fact, unity with other racial groups could, in fact, help that along, and how not having unity can really hurt them. And I think that's one way to do it, as well as on the spiritual level of human beings, and to, you know, if they are religious, to talk to that part of the identity and how contradictory it is to racism.
There is a certain
That's the episode.
Are we muted?
No.
Oh, okay.
We're on.
Oh.
We're live, Lele.
Wow. That's
What'd you
really
think?
Interesting.
That went pretty
Interesting.
quick for a half-hour show.
Yeah, it did.
A lot going on. Yeah, the Patriot Front protest. It was pretty fabulous. The bill for that was $75,000 or something.
Bill for what?
For all
To
the police.
who?
They
Oh.
had the U.S. Marshals come in or something like that. They paid tons of money for security for that.
Oh my
event.
gosh,
Yeah.
really?
Evergreen just spent tons of resources during
You know,
this period of time.
it's so fascinating how it illustrates that same thing we were just talking about before we started watching this, about how they see evil in the other, and so they act out the evil that they see in the other.
Yeah.
They acted it out. I mean, they
Yeah.
just went straight into it. Like,
Yeah, if
we're
you're
gonna
not here to make other people feel safe, get
feel-
the heck out.
Yeah, we'll hurt you.
We will hurt you.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be
Because
safe
you're
here.
somebody who might be hurtful to people, we will hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the faculty were all riling them all up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, so yeah, we go back and forth. These are kids, these are not kids,
Right.
are these kids, these
Yeah.
not kids. The shooter, yesterday's shooter's 20.
Yeah.
What does he know about life? What the heck does he know?
Yeah, but look at what we do with young people, conscript them into the military. Most wars are fought by people this
Because they don't
age.
know no better. Right?
Yeah, they are, you know, easily weaponized, I suppose you could say.
Yeah. Well,
young people who are, he says, trying to find their voice, trying to find community,
Yeah.
looking for something
Meaningful.
Yeah, looking for what is the meaning of their life.
Yeah.
It's easy to hijack someone who's looking for that.
Yeah. I mean, is politics ever sufficient to give life meaning? I mean, this is a Jordan Peterson question, which is also a Jordan Peterson question. You want to ask Jordan Peterson sometimes when he
Yeah, but politics.
expresses himself.
What is politics but deciding how other people should live. How should we set up society to control people? And so it's a person looking out and deciding how everything else should be structured.
Yeah.
So it's hollow if people are performing politics when they don't already have a sense of how their own life should be structured. There's no meaning in it.
Yeah.
It's just control for the sake
I mean,
of
there's
control.
there's the U.S. dollar, and then there's the traffic light around the corner, and then there's the water that pumps, and all those things are all related, and then there's certain laws that control women's uteruses, and certain laws that control me from waving my hand at women.
Are
on
there
the
laws
street.
about that?
There should be, according to Kara Dansky.
Yeah. You know what that's called, Benjamin? It was interesting in the statement by the school that they put out. What was that called? That position statement that you read you read that whole letter.
Yeah, that was their open letter. They published that. I spoke about that earlier. I got that to Brett Weinstein. I didn't include
that's
this.
the one you said he read on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I should have included the reaction
Yeah.
to it because it's
Yeah.
hilarious that they're like making all these statements. And it was just totally contradictory.
Well, there were a few things.
Yeah.
But one thing that
Well,
really
the
stood
training.
out to me was the training. Like we are going, I wish I had written down the sentence, but it was something like, you need to be enthusiastic about the mandatory diversity trainings. Like it was not just you have to do it, but also you have to like it. So I thought
we're going to believe vehemently in these ideas. I'm going to see if
it was dictating not just the participation in something, but also the attitude that people would have about it.
It's
which that really stood out to me.
Total compliance. Ideological compliance. I'm just looking for that letter.
Looking for it. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. It was down here. Holding each other accountable when we act in racist ways.
Participating actively and self-critically in the annual mandatory training specified in Memorandum of Understanding recently signed by blah, blah, blah.
And then there's something about agreed, holding each other accountable when we act in racist ways against our colleagues or our students according to shared language and understanding developed in the trainings.
Isn't that something? What does that mean?
That's insane. They get to design a set of mind control that everybody has to opt into, which doesn't make sense, but they're saying we're all going to opt into this thing mandatorily.
Yeah.
I did put the name of all of the...
I don't...
all
That's
the signees
interesting.
on the
That's
bottom
really
of that.
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. It said they aren't bad people. The guy says they aren't bad people. They're just young people.
You had a question about that.
Yeah.
What's a bad person?
What is a bad person?
Bad person is somebody who does bad things.
What is a bad person? What makes a person bad?
Wrath, envy, jealousy, gluttony,
Is he saying?
rage.
Is he trying to say they aren't permanently
Greed.
and hopelessly bad? Or is he trying to say that
Doesn't it go
even
back
when
to
they
that
act
Watuku
terribly,
thing you're talking
the
about?
Wetiko,
Yeah,
yeah.
Wetiko.
Yeah,
Like
mind
they,
virus.
like the human being is the human being, but the human being is possessed by bad software. So the ideology is bad. You hate the sin.
isn't everybody?
not the
Doesn't
sinning.
everybody have bad? Doesn't everybody have moments when they're behaving in a way that's hurtful to another person, and aren't they bad? Could they be bad in that moment? But is he saying that they aren't irredeemably bad? I just wonder about that statement.
I mean, he's a
I
kid.
guess I know, but it's just interesting to explore. What does it mean to be a bad person?
Yeah, what is that? What's pinging?
I guess it's just that we say that a lot, but what makes somebody bad? Is it like if you can tease out someone's intentions, or they could rationalize backwards from what they did, they could say, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. If they can have self-awareness, then we forgive them and we say that's not bad. But really, what does badness come down to?
Badness is, ultimately become a bad person if you continue to, ingrain bad habits into your life, bad ways of thinking. You start to become, again, it's like wrath, anger, envy, gluttony, greed.
And then you look at that girl who's yelling at the guy and the way she's screaming at him, and you hear the words, these aren't bad people. And in that moment, you're looking at someone who is dehumanizing the person that they're speaking to, is behaving in a completely disordered and dysregulated manner, allowing rage, anger.
We call that cringe in my culture.
Yeah.
In my culture,
Your
we call
culture.
that cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your culture.
Yeah.
With your little white brain.
With my little white brain.
Yeah.
How do you know what color my brain is?
Well, I mean, she said
Maybe
that-
I have a brown
she
brain.
said white people have little white brains.
Well, maybe I have a BIPOC brain. Maybe I'm what's the opposite of a coconut? White on the outside, charcoaly on the inside. I don't know. It's got to be some sort of like geode or something.
I don't know. When my daughter was in, she was in the Southeastern Asian Pacific Islander Club when she was in college.
You a banana. They
called her an egg.
Oh, an egg. Okay.
They said she was white on the outside and yellow on the inside.
Okay.
That was a cute joke.
Oh, wigger. I think that's what it's called. Maybe I'm a wigger.
Okay.
You know, there was this, can I just say, people, like, I think it was Forbes was saying, oh no, Trump just won the black vote because he got shot. He's a convicted felon who's gotten shot. He's got a bunch of baby mamas. And, like, a lot of people were like, that's super racist. I'm like, no, I think it's actually going to work out. I think people are going to say that is badass, you know? Like, I think the urban black community is like, you know what? If they're shooting at you.
So says Benjamin Boyce,
I don't know.
for the urban black community.
I don't know. John McWhorter and Glenn Lowry, like, said that. Like, Trump is the first black president. Okay. He's got the attitude and the swagger of a rap star. He said that. They said that 4 or 5 years ago.
That's funny. And Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy.
Yeah, he's.
It's so funny how people are whatever they want.
It's funny. So let's do another episode and see how we feel afterwards.
Any chats you want to read?
There was one chat from good old. Where is he? Common Ground. Confession through projection.
About the
confession through projection.
The reaction to the protest or the reaction to the.
Okay, let's go over.
Visitors.
This is episode 22 of the complete Evergreen story. I will link it down in the description, but you can find it easily by typing in bit.ly/evergreen story, all lowercase. I'll link it in the description when we're done with this.
bit.ly thing?
It's bit.ly. It's just a link shortener. Because like Amazon, like they only recently started creating short links for some reason that you can easily access. So you throw the link into this bit.ly and then they regenerate a shorter link. Or like when you want like a just short thing, and then you can name the link. So it's easy. Like women, like I have my D-trans stories, my gender interviews, my women interviews, and my Evergreen stories. Just easy.
What about BeardTube?
BeardTube. I should start a link to BeardTube playlist. We are boring the audience, I can tell. Battle box. We solve problems in the battle box.
Isn't that interesting?
Later on, me and Leslie are going to get into the battle box.
Yeah, that's where we spend our evenings.
Wonder what people are going to read into that. Okay, this now is they had this this debrief, George, where everybody had open comment. This is it says it'll get in there. This is July 12th actually. So this is almost exactly 7 years ago. Jeez. And so everybody came up and made statements. And you can see how everybody's spinning their own stories. Where are you?
It is critical that we all, including the board, I submit, thoughtfully and strategically choose the narratives that we tell about what happened. We are now in the time of sense-making. That is what I hear that you are here to do today. There are powerful, empowering stories to tell, true stories about students who value their education and took steps to ensure that this campus lives up to its promises and its mission.
Hey, YouTube Rubberneckers. My name is Benjamin Boyce. I'm coming to you live or recorded at the Evergreen College. To prove that to you, this video will be shot in vertical video because that is apparently the way that we record everything on this campus. Instead of talking about the protests and talking about any given aspect of what's going on that's brought all attention to it, I want to kind of address what is actually going on underneath the surface. I want to talk about the structural framework that has given rise to this. And I'm going to use my hands. And if that offends you, then just turn off your screen and listen to my audio.
I want to advocate that each of us, all of us, strategically and thoughtfully choose to listen, find, and tell the stories of what happened, stories that understand social change to be messy and righteous, difficult and necessary.
Me and all the other, brown and black folk would read the poem, and y'all would be like, oh, that's so great, that's so beautiful, that's so wonderful. That the second we make our feelings known to you in a way that isn't flowery, digestible bullshit for y'all, Y'all do this. Y'all do this shit. It's why y'all can never give actual.
There are layers and layers and layers of complexity that simply will not find their way into our stories unless we seek them. It was wildly frustrating to live this story from the inside while reading and watching the bizarre alternative universe being described by the media. Please learn about the many different ways that different students, staff, and faculty experienced and understand what happened, and then help us to tell the stories that empower our work going forward.
The following is a recording from my last Evergreen program, performing the text Creative Writing as Dissent, as taught by David Wallach. During this recording, what we witness is the students performing a struggle session on themselves, and you can make up your mind about what the role of the professor is in these proceedings. What had originally occurred towards the beginning of class was that one student of color, so-called, said that our white silence had been killing her all quarter. And then when a white student asked for clarification, that white student was told to shut the fuck up. This turned out to be rather confusing for us, or a mixed message, and what you witness now is kind of an argument about that. I had originally recorded this because the student assistant teacher said that if anybody tried to defend Brett Weinstein against allegations of racism, she would hit them in the fucking face. Due to the climate on campus at that moment, I saw that one group of persons was justified in doing whatever they wanted, up to and exceeding physical violence, and anything coming from another group of students that was construed as harmful, even on a verbal level, was come down upon very hard by everybody in a position of authority, whether assumed or granted by the state. I do recall specifically in this class that the professor had said if we ever ratted him out to the Evergreen administration, we should watch our backs. That was 3 years ago. I might be recalling incorrectly, but originally I had suppressed this recording and had edited out his name out of a abundance of caution on that front, but I feel that it is rather important to have a state employee shown for what they are doing with state resources and subjecting students of a state college too. And again, you can judge for yourself his responsibility in these proceedings. One final note, I might be misgendering him, for which I apologize.
Nothing I've said I've never been said. It's not about that. I think what people were immediately hearing was defensive. And I think I don't think I'm being defensive. I think that I'm expressing the fact that I don't feel.
Okay, I'm going to take a second. I would like somebody other than the brown people in the room to address her because apparently my black voice isn't getting through. So, anybody else want to take it on?
Besides
I didn't even get out 2 words. I don't understand.
I'll give you the space. Go ahead. Say it. Y'all can have this talk.
Yep. I don't think that I'm speaking from a place of defensiveness. I think I'm speaking from a place of what I actually feel. And I think that when you tell me to shut up before I've even said anything, I don't understand what's constructive about that. I don't know why that's funny, and I don't know why that this has to be so hostile. When you make it so that people cannot even speak, that doesn't really seem very useful for anyone.
So can I address this, please? I noticed when you started talking that at least 3 times you interrupted her speaking while you were talking. And I felt like...
Did you notice how many times I was interrupted?
I felt like that was really interesting that you're asking for space and saying you're not having space to talk when the entire quarter we have had space, we've made space, and it has been silent. No one has talked. There has been plenty of opportunity to talk. And the only time that you spoke up was to disagree with the brown person speaking about something that was really strongly felt and needed to be heard.
Was she disagreeing? Because I didn't hear her disagreeing.
It's They're going to take care of this amongst themselves. This is decolonization happening.
So wait, so you criticize me for being silent, and then you criticize me for talking. So there's no way to win.
What the fuck are y'all arguing about?
Yeah.
We just said our lives are in danger, and this is all you care about.
Then-
All you fucking care about is this. All you care about is arguing
if you
about
want-
arguing.
if you want-
Shut the fuck up. I'm talking. My life is in danger. My life is in danger every fucking day. I go on this campus, people are yelling fucking racial slurs at me, driving by in their fucking car. What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? All you care about is your own white feelings.
Hold up. I'm gonna stop this for a second. Sissy, I think it's important that we sit with our fucking pain, and I think that you and I both know that we've done that quite a bit.
I don't want to sit here and be like, I don't really feel it. I don't feel.
Just hold up. I think the point
I'm
is,
tired of feeling like afraid to like even speak. It feels like, why do you want to create an environment with nobody?
Hold on.
Oh my God! You can't even talk because you're a white person. You don't even have like, you shouldn't even deserve the space to like have feelings and express anything. Why? I don't understand why that's better. Why
You now know what it's like to be black every day in this fucking school. I have to leave. I'm sorry.
I don't understand. This is so awesome.
Hold on. Stop.
Alexis! You know what? Fuck you! Fuck all of you!
Sissy,
This is really weird.
Sissy, we need to check in at the end of this class. So if you're gonna go someplace, I want to actually check in with you. I think we need to hear what the fuck is being said by folks, and what I'm interested in is what we haven't gotten to at all, which is what's irritating me, is that we're not getting to what has gone on. Like, I mean, last class I rolled in here
Alexis!
without,
Alexis!
and people are in real pain, right? And that real pain is real felt danger. So it's just, let's giddy up here. It's not about us, right? Because I guess what's the point? I think that was what that felt sense, right? That it's really not about you, it's not about me today. Other days,
I don't understand how, if it's not about me, but at the same time, like, I want to know, I can't even exist in this space and have a voice.
But you're doing that right now. You're taking up space right now.
Yeah. Right, and
right now.
And it's really, really not okay. I get that. I really get that. And I don't understand why, like, that is healthy.
Are we going to spend this whole class talking about
Yeah, I'm listen, I'm with you. I just, look, I think that I want to talk about what is going on. And I don't think the burden should be on these two who just left, and I don't think it should be on anyone else. That's number one. Number two, I want to know what it is that people are thinking about the shit that's been, the shit that's been going on campus lately. I mean, you got your former professor, or your current professor, whoever the hell this guy is, right? Has kicked up a whole bunch of white supremacists, like active neo-Nazis. Those are the people who used to kick my ass. Okay? So it's not about me. I could go on and on about that. It's not about me today. I blend in pretty damn well, don't I? I'm not going to get my ass kicked down this campus. Two of my students have. One was almost murdered. Okay, so I come to this quarter. You know what I look for? I look to hide. Because it's scary. And that's not fucking fair. Am I correct? You hear me. You hear me about your own feelings about the science. There's been a lot of space created for all of us to speak in this class. Probably too much, more than I've ever created as a facilitator. To the point in which we teeter on the edge of no structure. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that, and a lot of those are on me. But one of the pieces of collateral damage there is the felt sense of danger coming into the classroom. So if I can own that, why can't we own what it is that we're not doing as complicity? Why can't we do that? Why is it not on us? I don't get it. Why did we not co-create conditions of silence on this campus? This is the whitest, most silent environment I've ever lived in, and I've lived in about 20. So that's what I want to get to. It's like, what I want you all to know, I want us to be on the same page as to like some of the key dangers right now. Not to fucking argue about whether they're dangerous. So thank you. And I also want to then jump off that and be like, okay, what's the action plan? Because you often know more about what the action plan than I fucking do. Okay? I have got a chronic illness. There's no excuse. I'm in bed every single hour of the day when I'm not teaching or meeting with you. I wouldn't be in this fucking job if it wasn't for that fact of life. And one of the reasons why I wouldn't be is this shit right here. Absolutely no institutional support for just the basics. Putting on a website that there's this violent shit going on and that, that they're dealing with it. Putting it all on faculty and on staff and on students to fend for ourselves. The question is what is the action plan? So be it. Rather have us take it into our hands than have the administration do so. Be frank. So what's the action plan? Some of you have been to these organizing events. Where are we? What are we doing? What are we going to do, each of us?
Good job. Well, I want to say, for one, that I don't give a fuck about anyone's arguments for but one time because he has personally, he knows what he's doing, and he has personally, put every brown person on this campus in danger, and has personally, one of my friends literally has, because of his students, literally has people messaging her every day saying, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to fucking rape you. People are saying that to her. They're directly messaging it to her. They're commenting on that thread and saying, I go to this school, I know this girl, I'm going to kill her. And so I don't give a fuck about anyone's shit about Brett. He's putting people in danger and has gone on Fox News and has just said shit that is a lie, because none of this movement was about him. None of this was started about him. None of this is based on him. And the fact of the matter is that everyone is using that as a way to not be involved in this. And saying, I don't agree that those emails are racist, so I'm not gonna be part of this, which I don't fucking care about.
This stuff's been going on for forever since this campus. And, and it was well before these emails from Brett fucking Weinstein and his partner, who's just as much of an asshole as he is.
And also, this movement is barely about Brett. Brett is a fucking tiny ass part of it. So I don't care about that. This movement is about it's about everyone that has been fucking victimized by this fucking racist ass campus. This campus that mishandles sexual assaults. This campus that just is toxic for people, and the fucking police services are part of it, fucking Wendy is part of it, George is part of it, this whole school is part of it, there's a ton of shit, and Brett is the tiniest little part. So if you're using that as your thing for why you haven't gotten involved, I don't give a fuck, you're nothing.
There's been a rise of white supremacy on this campus, institutionally as well as literally neo-Nazis organizing themselves into this campus and in a semi-permeable way. There's been an uptick for years. Okay, I have had students that have been being, we've got faculty right now who are being actively threatened, and those threats are quite serious. This is not bullshit.
And I want to say also that right there that just happened is an example of someone using something to derail the conversation when we're saying that our lives are in danger, and then getting their own feelings hurt and censoring their own feelings. In that whole argument, we could have been saying what's happening. We could have been talking about our own feelings when we, as brown folks, have never gotten to say that. We've never gotten the space to say, I feel in danger. And the moment that we take that space, someone has a problem with it.
Yeah, and I just want to ask a question. How many people in this room that are how many of the pigs on campus, and for those of you that don't know what the term pig means, it's a gender neutral term. So how many pigs on this campus know your name and say it directly to you? And how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel safe? Or like respected or protected by the institution? Because if it does, that's what being white is. That's what being white is at this institution. Like, literally being white is feeling safe here. And then add fucking extra layers to that of like being trans, like sexuality, like disability, like add any numbers of layers to that shit, and then you would understand how I feel when the cops say my name openly, even though I've never fucking met almost any of those assholes. And when they tell me that they came to my house, went inside my house, because apparently my cat pulled the emergency string in my apartment, something my cat has never fucking done. So if you feel safe with cops on this campus, then that's what it means for you to be fucking white on this campus. And literally, if all you're gonna do is sit here and defend the power of the institution, I would literally fucking call all of y'all white supremacists. And I don't care. I don't care if you think you have some nuanced new opinion from a white person that this Negro has never heard before. Because believe me, I've heard almost all the shit. There's almost nothing you can say to a black person in this room that we have not heard. So save it. Cram it up your ass and fucking shove it.
While we do that, by the way, thank you, Ron. While we do that, I actually want to give our reaction. Who's out? Huh? Who's out? Who's out with what I just said? Well, Melissa's going to testify too. This is about finding ways to make this space more livable if nobody else is going to do it. Besides all this is part of both.
I want to express personal appreciation for every single person that's shared today thus far. I don't want to demand emotional labor being done, but just to hearken back to the original couple of minutes from the class, like almost in the same breath. You said white silence is killing me, and we also heard shut the fuck up.
I feel like this is another time when it's like not appropriate to like recenter the conversation over like
logical inconsistencies.
Yeah, like your feelings and your freeze, because that is complicity.
I don't feel defensive right now.
Right, but that's not what we're talking about.
I think, like your feelings of silence, I think the question. So like we've had space to talk as white folk all quarter, I think is what was stated. So the shut the fuck up is, you got to hear that frustration and that fear and that anger, just as I do, right? And then think about what we could have done, should have done, would have done, but really what we ought to do. That's my sense.
And I'm just literally saying that it feels like you didn't pay a goddamn bit of attention to the words that just came out of my mouth. And literally, 2 seconds after I said them, you launched into, like, an attack. I'm gonna call it what I feel it is. An attack on, like, black women. Like,
I don't want to do that.
Like, seriously, like.
Also, I want to say white silence is killing me because y'all want to speak up about anything, any violence that is done about brown people. We stood up here and said our lives are in danger, and then you stood up there and said their lives are in danger. That's what's killing us. And the phrase white silence is in danger, you took that, I mean, white silence is killing me, you took that so literally when, like, that's not even, like, it's pretty clear what we meant by that.
Okay. Because are they not literally in danger either?
No, it's really about
say
like,
something.
Oh, no,
Because you and Sissy have different opinions about what's happening here, and I have one opinion about what's happening here. And I feel that it's not about your feelings. I feel that it shouldn't be about, I'm offended because a black person called me racist. Bitch, I don't care. To me, you might as well be. White people are inherently racist because they benefit from systems that they put in place years and years and years ago by colonization. So inherently, you are racist. Congratulations, you won the card. What you do with that is then is on your own, son. But if you're gonna get mad because some people in the class called you out for being silent and for not doing anything and then telling you to shut the fuck up because you've been killing me all quarter with your white silence, you're getting mad about the trivial things. You guys keep picking apart the little things that are happening in the classroom, the little interactions, when we're literally screaming about something that's going on the entire campus, that is campus-wide, that is city-wide, that is statewide, worldwide. And you're angry that I told you to shut the fuck up. You're angry that I also told you to speak. I don't understand why you're focusing here when the issue is here. Okay? No. The issue is a lot bigger than what you're making it out to be. And so, I swear to God, the next thing that comes out of anybody's mouth is their white feelings about me calling them out for being white. I will scream. I will scream loud enough to break every window in this fucking building, and I will break a table. I just broke the door. Try it. I did break the door.
Yes, you did. I saw it. It was breaking.
you broke the system.
I broke the system by breaking the door.
I want to know what's going on.
Now that I've shared with you a portion of my last Evergreen class, I want to share with you excerpts from my first Evergreen video. And I hope that this particular episode shows to you kind of why I decided to tell this story, why it was so important for me to break that white silence, to try to get as many eyes on what happened at the Evergreen State College in 2017, and not only what happened, but hopefully what caused what happened to happen. And now in 2020, with the same sorts of ideas being pushed out in various different educational institutions, corporate environments, and so on, it might be the case that Evergreen wasn't so much a warning as it was the pilot program, as chilling as that may sound. But here's Benjamin Boyce from 3 years ago. There's something going on in this view of the world that allows for what happened at Evergreen and what is happening at Evergreen to happen. The outburst that's drawn so much attention to us is actually the manifestation of something that's going on inside of the staff and the faculty. There's a really strong push to teach people this concept of equity, or this concept of privilege, or this concept of intersectionality. And how they teach that, it's very, very telling. There's these workshops. Right now, they're
they're called anti-oppression workshops, but they were called something else last year, and they'll be called something else next year, because there's something inherent in the system that it always needs to change its language. And I think that it changes the language because the underlining content of those words keeps on coming to light as something that's corrupt. And so they change the word, and they change the word, and they change the word. But you go to these workshops, whether you're a student employee or you're just a first-year student, and there's never any discussion about the actual theory behind it. There's no argument, there's no debate about that. There's simply a presentation of it, and then different exercises so that you can internalize that. And that's basic, it's just doctrination, indoctrination. They divide the human entity into these different sorts of categories, right? And then they use those categories to assign this thing called privilege to a certain group. And at no point do we talk about what an actual human being is, right? So the underlying assumption of what a human being is a bunch of parts, is a bunch of different identities. And through these identities, you can recognize right away who the privileged one is. And that privileged person, there's an inversion that happens where that privileged person is said to be racist and sexist and all these different phobics. You know, if you happen to live in those categories, you need to check your privilege, right? There's a Ray Bradbury story about everybody needing to be weighted down to the lowest common denominator so that everybody's equal, right? That's what equity is, where everybody's equal, and because you can't really lift everybody up, you have to bring everybody down. And the way that everybody's brought down, this is another telling thing about this system or this ideology, is that the weight that is put on people is akin to guilt. There's no redemption in this. There's no salvation in this system. There's no forgiveness in this system. You can't change the color of your skin. Well, you can. You can't change your gender, but you can. You know, you have to go through and change who you are so that you disassociate yourself from this privileged category. Or either that, or you just bow down before these people and you become what's called an ally. The fundamental problem of it is that it does not believe in a self. It does not believe in a unique, volitional, self-determined entity. So what happens is that the individuals who happen to be underprivileged on a statistical level are given the ability to implicitly or explicitly oppress or disregard the humanity, the essential humanity of people who are at the top of those categories. And without that recognition of self, without that understanding of what a human being is, it's totally screwed, and it will always be screwed, and it will constantly erupt in what happened in the last 2 weeks, and it'll keep on happening all around the country as long as this ideology is in place. Unless we come to an understanding of people as persons proven to be unique, not by what they're given and what they're made out of, but what they do with what they're made out of, right? And a reification of personal volition and personal effort, there will always be people who take advantage of that and use that as a cloak to just gain power. That's all I'm going to say for that right now. And I'll try to say more about the more particular situations in the coming time. Thanks for listening. Ciao.
That is really cute.
It was kind of good to hear myself back when I was fresh, young, had ideas. I'm like, wow, he had an idea.
He did. He
I
had
left
some
out.
pretty good ideas.
Can I really briefly say what I left out of that edit of that video?
Yeah.
Or do you have ideas? I guess we can take these
Well,
out.
you should clarify for people that you know that's actually Harrison Bergeron.
Yeah, I know, because they'll fix it in the comments. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
They've been fixing it in the comments for seven years. No, I told a story about teaching how Evergreen's really similar to preschool, because it's choose your own adventure. You get to make, it's very student led, there's just a bunch of toys, and then you get help to figure out whatever you want to do. And it's really open. And one of the things that I was, as a preschool teacher, I taught how to say please and thank you. And how a critique of teaching a child to say please and thank you is that you're just teaching them a rote kind of signal
Script,
of play. It's a
social script.
It's a social script.
Yeah.
But when I was teaching that, I became aware that when the kid asked me for milk, they say, "Give me milk." I'm like, No, say please, because I want you to recognize that I'm a human being that's doing something for you.
It's respect.
It's respect. So it's not just about these signifiers. It's like, no, that we take a little bit of time out of our lives to dress up what we're saying to other people as a recognition of them as human beings, and how this sociological, I guess Marxist or whatever it was at that point, social justice, intersectionality, it didn't look at the human being at all. It just looked at all these statistical patterns, and that's why they say they're bodies. Like, we are black bodies. We demand, we're here because the institution, we paid for this institution. You know, like with Jamil, he's no longer a human being. He is a force of nature. He's a billiard ball, a part of this huge historical Hegelian dialectic that's going into utopia or hell or whatever it is. But they just miss, like, that's why they're so rude. Over and over again, they're so rude. Like, your white feelings. It's like you're no longer a human being. You have white feelings, and I have black feelings. You know, it's like, okay, so you're no longer a human being either. You're literally being killed. We can go into the thing, but no, you're not listening to me. I'm not saying I'm literally being killed. You're not hearing me. The cops didn't literally mace me. You're not listening to me. They had mace. And there's just constant double binds. This is not about Brett Weinstein, but we're going to make it all about him. But it's not about him. It's just always these double blinds. And then David Wollock, he was doing the same thing. It's like, this is not about me. Let me talk about myself. You know, and this institution isn't even supporting us, and I don't even want them to support us. So you're like, wait, the cops are hurting us. We need more protection. You're like, there's always these double binds. They're just completely unhinged, and I think it's because they lose connection to reality. And the reality, I don't know, maybe going to the point about like the collective hallucination, is that we're in it together. We're building this thing together, and we have a mutually supportive system.
Well, the best double bind and the most extreme one, I guess, that was what seems to have started that particular conflict in that class is your silence is violence, but also shut the F up.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to hear white voices, but you white people being quiet is literally killing us.
Yeah.
And then if you try to say anything, stop centering your white feelings. And that's incredible. That's incredible listening to that. I'm so glad you recorded that. That teacher he should never teach another class. He should never be allowed to teach another class. And his assistant, oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, these people he's sitting there, he's like soliciting these emotional testimonies from the kids, or the students. Yeah. And then he's stroking them when they say the right things. And then he's sitting back and letting them tear each other apart. Yeah. When they're not in line. I mean, it's such a struggle session. It's really, it's horrifying. And I'm so glad that you also recorded it.
I looked at your face when Sissy was getting, and that's her actual name. Yeah, she was getting torn apart, and you had this pained agony, like you were about to like cry for her. It was just like
they're torturing this person. Yeah, totally. Why would they do that to this person? They don't know her. What's her story? All they know about her is that she's white. So we will rip her to shreds. We will sit here and make her cry, and in front of her whole classroom, we will humiliate her and ridicule her. Yeah. It's utterly ridiculous, and it's kind of similar to something that happened to me in graduate school, but this is so much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sissy looked across to me, and she's like, she asked for help. I'm just don't stop talking. I tried to say
there's not going to be
there's no way to win.
You can't play this game.
You can't play this game.
This game is set up.
Yeah, you
so
cannot
that you lose
just don't play the game.
Way.
Don't play the game.
Yeah.
You might be able to like ask a question or make a joke,
just
and then they're not going to actually
Yeah.
hurt you, but they're going to make fools of themselves. Literally killing you.
Well, they're literally being killed every day on that campus.
No, yeah. So there's all these claims too about like rape threats. There was, I mean, when this stuff hit 4chan. And you got these crazy ass, you know, like I'm sorry, I'm gonna try not to cuss on stream. In the previous episode, there's that girl who's saying, "You're not making. We're here to keep people safe," and she had the same eyes of those social justice memes that go around. They have this total crazed look in their eyes, and like when they're like, I forgot my thought because I was worried about cussing. Yeah, so these clips of these just crazy girls with these crazy eyes, like these white girls. They're on fire for the black folk. They're
the allies. Yeah.
They're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And we'll get some really cool footage in the next episode.
Oh my gosh, and that's the only way to go if you're in that situation and you want to play that game and you are white. You see who gets stroked and you see who gets ripped to shreds, and you can get stroked real easy if you come out as an ally.
It's hard for somebody in that frame of mind, that age. I think age has a lot to do with this, to opt out. Like Sissy could not,
she couldn't
disregard.
Yeah.
And so a thought experiment I've run in the past, like if I was younger,
what would you have done?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have gone along with it because of my previous experiences. And I bristle whenever there's like agreement and power. I just really mistrust that. And plus, the way that I got my social currency moving from one place to another is to figure out how can I get people to laugh. Like if I can figure out how to get people to laugh, then I can diminish threats. It's not even about connecting to anybody. It's just like, I'm cool. We're not a threat. Things are going, and there's no humor in this ideology.
Yes.
I mean, there's laughter, but the laughter of hyenas.
So the crazy eyes and the 4chan.
Yeah.
So there was actually some like hateful stuff.
There was some,
then
4chan got a hold of it. These girls were saying egregious stuff online, and then people were just coming right back.
The comments were really bad.
Yeah,
probably.
like kill yourself or KYS or like mocking them and stuff. But then they use that. This is another double bind. They act outrageously, and then they get negative attention. They broadcast vile, cringy behavior. And then it comes, Naima Lowe especially, she broadcasts that.
Terrible.
And then when it comes back to her,
she's a victim.
She's a victim. Like, she did the whole thing. She's a victim. It's just like what the media's been doing the last 2 weeks with Biden and now with Trump. It's like, oh, no, like, we're the victim. Trump's the victim. Trump, like, set this whole thing up. Like, oh, we're the victim of Biden. Somehow Biden was so smart with his, like, 20-year-old interns.
Like, he was
they hoodwinked us.
He was hiding his
He
dementia
hoodwinked
from
us
people.
the whole time.
Yeah.
That dastardly Biden. Like, no, he's good. Did you see him today? Like, his hands are, like, he's literally falling apart.
Yeah, he's falling apart. Which is... That kind of reminds me a little bit of something else I was thinking as we were listening to that was R.
Yeah. So R is the guy in the wheelchair, the guy with the funny voice.
Who has the cracky voice, and he's really miserable. Like, he's just this miserable, angry, resentful person, and I can't help but feel bad for him. Like, they're allowing him.
Yeah.
This ideology and the way he's been taught has allowed him to have a set of, like, as a person who's already been, he's been given he drew the short stick.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some real problems, and who knows what his social background is like.
I know he was adopted at birth by wealthy white people who set him up with all of the systems that support him.
Okay.
And he hates that.
Well, and it, we could go into that. That's a whole conversation about...
One other thing. Sorry, you go on with your thoughts.
No.
Well, one other thing, like, he goes into that whole thing about, like, cops knowing your name.
Yeah.
Because he's been protesting the whole time. He's a known entity.
He stands out.
He's been causing trouble.
He's loud too, and he stands out.
He says "fuck you" to police. Fuck you and fuck the police. He's up in there.
He's histrionic.
Yeah.
He's like constantly having these big meltdowns and these big dramatic episodes. And then
Did you say dramatic? Because I would have to disagree with you on
I
that.
said dramatic. But I mean, how many times just in this series have you featured an outburst by this guy? It's been a bunch. So he's really prominent, and he's really making sure people hear him. But also, people like this Woloch guy.
Oh.
They're basically sitting there encouraging him to feel miserable because his misery serves their purpose.
Like Death Eater kind of thing.
It's like so sad. I felt bad for this person.
Yeah.
He's been coached into this.
There's this screenshot. I haven't verified the screenshot, but it's about Amazon's got a new Victorian romance going on where the King of England is a black trans disabled
you're kidding
person.
Me.
So
That's
they made R.
Fake.
They made R the King of England.
Oh yeah.
Basically.
Oh,
you don't see his piss bag. At least in the screenshot.
Well, I mean, like, he's got a hard.
No, he's got
hardships.
Yeah,
we all
met
have
him.
Our challenges.
I tried to be polite. He didn't know how to interact with me.
He seems like he might be slightly intellectually disabled too. I don't know.
He's kind of brilliant in a certain way.
Is he?
He's got a certain kind of brilliance, you know.
But he's so
exploiting
stunted
something.
by his resentment.
Yeah,
and
the resentment
and-
is the bigger thing. Like Naima Lowe, it's not her weight.
Like
it's the weight of her hate.
Yeah.
That is her burden. you know?
Yeah. What was that?
A call to Benjamin's phone.
Oh, okay. Notification.
Leave me alone.
Any chats you want to read?
Oh, yeah. Did you get through all your notes?
Pretty much. Chat? Pretty much. The felt sense of danger was another thing
You
I
like
wrote
that
down.
one?
Yeah, because I think it was Wolak who said that.
No, they were...
Wolak is his name. Yeah, he said
His
the
real
felt
of
sense of danger.
yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because that phrase, instead of saying you felt like you were in danger or I felt like I was in danger, he's like concretizing it.
Yeah.
The felt sense of danger. It's like something that is real. It's here with us.
Dude, listen, the media right now, since Trump got shot, they had to scramble for a narrative, and all of a sudden they had to say, like, we haven't been calling him a Nazi the whole time. It's him, right?
Mm.
Like, we had a real felt sense of him being fascist.
Yeah, that's interesting because
David
they
Frum
have
is like,
really
no,
been...
fascism is violence. So this is what happens to fascists. But you're the one who called him fascist the whole time.
Yeah.
So
That's
now, like,
interesting.
this is just as important now as it was 7 years ago.
Well, and the kind of language that they're doing, it's like, what's the end result of this? Is the dehumanization of the white people. You're telling them to shut the F up. You're telling them that they don't have a place there.
Yeah.
You are making them into boogeymen
Yeah.
for other people to hate. And what do people do when they hate?
Yeah.
I
I don't see... So this ideology uses class... uses race, uses sex, uses gender as a cloak, but it's the same thing over and over again. And because it's unstable, it has to keep on changing forms. Like they literally, while I was there at Evergreen for the 4 years, it started as like discrimination training or like politeness training, and then it was equity training, and then anti-oppression training, and then privilege training or something. They kept on switching. I'm like, the whole thing, because every time you train it, then people start acting bad, so we have to change it. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's not just the words, because DEI has become
whatever that is,
belonging.
yeah.
They keep on throwing new terms into it, but in 2020 we saw it take over with race, and it got a lot of mileage, but it can't sustain itself, so it falls apart, and now it has to go through fascism. Right, it's using this fascist rhetoric. It's like, okay, this is privilege. It's not just privilege. It's just like you think you're superior, white supremacy or something like that. But they have to disassociate it from the race because they ran out of that, because they have to keep the white allies bought into this, and it eventually destroys the minds, the souls, the hearts, and ultimately the buy-in of the so-called white people because they just get the bad end of the stick. There's only so many. So much money that a Karen can give to the cause, or so many years of her life a young woman in her 20s can be an ally before she's like, well, what about me?
Yeah.
Right. So it keeps, and then sex and gender, it manifests again and again. And that's why, with my channel, I feel like I've already done everything. It's like, we can go through all these things, but it's just the same manifestation of the same corrupt evil. This complex of evil, this mind virus, just popping up again and again in these different forms. Like, what is the antidote to this other than to not shine the light on evil? That drives you crazy, but to keep on like lifting up the good and running towards the good and saluting the good or whatever. And that, unfortunately, is not as interesting as evil.
Well, but you know what? I think there's a purpose to some of this. It's that if anything, we can recognize that we run some of these same programs in ourselves. Like you said, it's perpetually changing. Yeah. The focus is always changing because it's not really about a substance, it's about a process.
You're always trapped in the battle box.
In the battle box, yeah, we're in the battle box. And so, like, we run these scripts on ourselves, too, and with other people. It's this whole process of, like the older women I was talking about just before this, they don't run this script on most of the things that they talk about, but here they kick in and they run this script when it's Trump. And it's not just, I don't like the guy, I disagree with his policies.
Yeah,
I really don't think that he makes much sense, and he's kind of a buffoon. So I don't get why people are so drawn to him. I really prefer the other parties. They're not. That's not the conversation. It's like, he's evil. I don't understand how anybody could vote for him. And so I think that the conversations, one of the things that's valuable about these kinds of conversations is that it's a reminder that we have those we all have those
Yeah.
tendencies, and so we can investigate our own blind spots and see where we're doing that exact same thing in our lives.
I have to, we started with the battle box, and I have to show this, the most stellar piece of media of my lifetime of a political bent. It's just this, when Trump just stands back up, I just have to watch this. I have to share this with my audience.
I don't
If we
think
go over
it's
to-
on, is it?
What's on?
Is it up? Oh,
What?
okay. Never mind.
I'm doing the
Okay,
thing,
okay,
baby.
you're doing the thing.
I'm
You
doing
know,
my
you're
thing.
the internet
She's always,
authority.
whenever I use like any sort of technology, she's always like correcting me and stuff, and she
But
doesn't
I
even know
don't
what
know
she's
what
talking
I'm
about.
doing.
So it's like, could you not? Could you like not?
Yeah,
Just let me do my thing. She's such a good mom. I love you.
Am I mothering you right now? Is
No,
that
you
why
do.
said
You
that?
get into motherly mode.
Oh no, I love you too.
And that's great. So I just had to download this thing and go over here, go download video.
Oh, look at you knowing what you're doing.
Yep, me know what I'm doing, and then we can sign off. What do we got going on? You have your live stream tomorrow, and I am working on this detransitioner stories book, which is just so much work. I mean, just hours put in. It's not like hard work. It's just like, wow, this is taking a long time.
Yeah.
And then I have some. I have to keep the channel going with interviews and stuff, so I have some more stuff coming
you have
up.
good interviews. Are you going to put up that Nina Paley interview?
Oh yeah, I'm working on a Nini
I wanna watch that
Paley one here.
I like
Let's
her.
see. She's great. This is just this moment, man. So Trump gets shot, and there's somebody went through and because a bullet went in a straight line and it hit his ear, and they judged about half a second. He turned his head, and it would have gone right through his
Oh my
skull.
God.
And it just grazed his ear.
Wow.
And you watch the footage. He reaches
so
up.
close.
I heard, but I didn't see. He might have got hit in the chest.
Oh,
and he had
really?
that thing. But
Okay.
he reaches up, and then he realizes that he drops on the ground. They all rush him. There's a whole discussion about the female Secret Service.
Yeah, that's
things,
interesting. We
so-
should actually record about that. Or
Yeah,
do
well,
a
we
live
have a
stream
lot
about some of
more.
this
We
stuff.
have so many topics to do that we've just been. And then he's on the ground. He's surrounded. He's like, my shoes. And then they're like gonna pull him away. He says, wait, and he does this. This is just so based. It's so awesome, man. I don't know what that makes you feel.
I
Is
don't
this a
know.
manly feeling that I'm feeling?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Am I being manipulated?
No, well, I don't know if you're being manipulated.
just such
but
a
you're
show
You're
of
obviously
raw.
you're experiencing like you're being stirred by what you're seeing.
Like
but-
okay, like there's a whole discussion about it's not Darvo, it's the chickens
oh
in
no,
the house.
the chickens in the house.
Chickens in the house. Should we show the chicken?
This is chicken.
Dahlia,
And our messy table.
get out of here.
Oh, that's not Dahlia. That's Vera.
Oh, that's Vera. Yeah. So there's
turn it back to you.
Yeah, I
I'll
know, I know,
get
I
the
know, I
chicken
know.
out while you.
No, she's gone.
No. Oh, she. Okay. Okay.
It's pro wrestler stuff where Trump came
kayfabe.
into the kayfabe.
You should tilt that up a little bit.
You and your thing. We're almost done. Man, you're always fussing. You're like a little chicken. You're like going around. You're fussing around.
You're welcome. You need it.
I mean, yeah.
You need it.
Sorry if I'm a little
Kayfabe.
bit of a cock sometime. But like Trump's brand was to kayfabe the system, to kind of like pull down the pants on everybody by turning everything up. So he
The
is
outsider that's an insider.
outside of this insider, but like saying things you're not supposed to say.
Can I get the chicken? You
Go
talk.
get the chicken.
Get the chicken out. Go on, Vera.
You know, and so in a certain respect, his rhetoric did turn up the heat on everything. He fed into the cycle that we're living through now. But he threatened the powers that be so much who were operating under politeness. They had this polite guise going on. So it is true to cut through that polite stuff, the please and the thank yous. That's masking something that's not actually authentic. And he was super inauthentic in a way, or like super just bombastic in a way that kind of broke down. It forced the people to be honest in a way, and that's where the TDS stuff comes from. It's this cognitive dissonance, like we believe in a system, there's a lie in a system, and he's showing something about me that I do not want to see. And so I'm going to call him Hitler. I'm going to other him as much as possible. And then that leads to political violence against him, right? And that moment that I just showed, it just feels like it popped. It pops through.
Okay.
He's not playing a game.
Okay.
Like he just like, no, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, are you doing it for power? Are you doing it because you just like you thought it would be a game? He's like, no, he got shot. like his body is just like, you almost died. And the first thing he's like, no. And he signals to his audience, like, and then the next morning he goes and he tees off at 9 a.m., right? And the next day he's like playing golf, so I don't know.
Yeah,
like, that's a complex character.
No, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I wouldn't mind having a longer discussion about this, perhaps, if you want to.
Someday.
Maybe if, I don't know if we have a topic for tomorrow's live stream.
Oh,
maybe
you want me
could
to
join
jump
and
on?
we-
Well, let me look at
I'll
my
ask
character.
the girls what they
Yeah,
want to
so
talk about.
follow Leslie at the Radical
Maybe we could
Center.
do that.
She's got a solid ground support group if you're interested.
Oh, yeah,
interested
join us
in
if you guys want to.
group
We talk
support. You guys talk about these.
Talk about all
issues.
kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, it's like truly, like the word safe space is ridiculous at this point. It's been used in the most bizarre place or ways, but it's really like we really talk about all kinds of things and come from lots of different perspectives. And
you have really great groups.
We have really great
and it's like $5 a month, and people can sign up for that and plug in other professionals, a lot of professionals, a lot of high capacity.
All kinds of people.
Yeah. So you guys have a good summer. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Stay tuned. Thanks a lot for your support. Happy birthday to Leslie.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah.
We were going to have a conversation about age difference.
Yeah.
And how I kind of
robbed. We could do.
I kind of robbed the cradle
he
here.
Did. He's 10 days older than me.
I'm 10 days older than her. So you guys can go haywire about that. I'm basically Leonardo DiCaprio here. In 10 days, I'm going to break up with you and marry you again. Always have a 10-year-old.
Next year, when we hit the age difference again.
Let's take over. Yeah. All right. You guys take it easy.
All right. Bye.